Hello and good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, everybody, still. And thanks a million for inviting me to speak today about, I suppose, bringing, if we look to Orla's presentation at the governmental strategy level, this is about putting it into action, if you like. So hopefully I'll be able to give some more detail about some of the things that Orla has just mentioned. So again, Clara, you're not driving the tourist bus, you're driving the cruiser for me today. So if you could bring the slides forward, I'd appreciate it. So Clara, thank you. Today, I'm going to be talking really about the Shannon, known as the mighty river of Ireland. And I'm going to bring you through five key areas in relation to the Shannon Master Plan. The formulation of a destination vision, the identification of the hero products and indeed the signature themes, splitting the region up into its discovery zones, looking at the strategic initiatives that we have formulated, and most importantly, our action plan for implementation. So Clara, you can pull down the throttle there, yeah. So just by way of background, we in Waterways Ireland, we're the navigation authority responsible for 1,000 kilometres of inland navigable waterways on the island of Ireland. And together with Fáilte Ireland and the 10 local authorities in the Shannon region, we formulated the Tourism Master Plan. And the key thing here is that it's the first time ever there was a single, holistic and dedicated plan of any type, economic or anything, for this area. Clara, if we could move on. So the objectives of the master plan were to reposition the Shannon as a destination of international scale and singularity at the centre of Fáilte Ireland's hidden heartlands proposition. So it was to identify and deliver a coordinated strategy that would reposition the Shannon, identify the world-class visitor experiences, establish a framework for tourism development, define the area's unique tourism offering, formulate the vision, establish the themes, identify the products, and then identify the strategic initiatives. So moving on, there are two key pillars to the formulation of the strategy. The first of which is the International Best Practice for Sustainable Development, the VICE model, where the visitor, the community, the industry, and the environment are the centre of the formulation. And in order to bring that to life, we cover 10 different local authority areas. All of the local authorities were involved, and indeed Fáilte as the National Tourism Development Authority and Waterways Ireland as the Navigation Authority. So the key pillars that underpinned everything were around partnership and collaboration, and were around the use of the VICE model for sustainable tourism development. So moving on then, there are multiple ways to interact with this wonderful river and indeed its canals and lakes. So whether it's on the water, whether it's through activities and adventure, whether it's by the water side and just enjoying being at one with the wonderful landscape that's there, through its unspoiled hinterlands, and indeed through the Shannon's unique culture. And the unique culture is a critical element for the visitor, and also one that supports the local communities and their customs, festivals, etc., etc. So moving from that, we developed Clara, you can move on, please. We developed a destination vision where we wanted the Shannon to become Ireland's surprising heart, that it would be highly valued for its special environmental qualities and its biodiversity, a haven for on-water experiences, where people could be active in nature, where they could slow down, stay longer, and engage with the heritage and the communities along the Shannon. So, if we could move again, Clara. There are a myriad of unique experiences on the Shannon, and keep going there, Clara, would be great, thank you. So we came up with three distinctive themes for the Shannon. So the Shannon is the longest river in Ireland, and indeed the longest river in Ireland or Great Britain. And the area that we covered was 360 kilometres linear waterway, but with about maybe double that in river and lake journeys. So that brought us then to the second key theme, which is around the adventure and the Shannon journeys. And the third key theme is the natural and timeless Shannon. The Shannon has been there since God created the earth, if you like. And the important thing to remember about the Shannon is it is the way that this island was populated with humans. They travelled on these water courses, built their settlements, and indeed there's a long history and heritage associated with that. So we are very mindful of those three themes in everything that we did in the formulation of this master plan. Again, you can move on, Clara, please. So, as I said, it's 360 linear kilometres. You can see on the map there on the left, touching on the Cavan-Fermanagh border and working its whole way down and out to the estuary in Limerick. So it is a spine that runs down the middle of Ireland. There are three very large lakes in the Shannon system, and we have split the geography into three distinct discovery zones, each of which have their own unique proposition, products, and indeed selling point from a tourism perspective. Again, we can move on, Clara. So we came up with 7 then strategic initiatives that will catalyse the recommendations, but will also inform the implementation. So if we move on, I'll run very quickly through them, Caroline, and Clara, if you could move on to the next. Thank you. The first signature initiative is around messaging, that the Shannon would be integrated into the work of Fáilte Ireland and the Hidden Heartlands, and that we would develop an integrated interpretation strategy and design guide, develop Shannon discovery points where people could interact with the Shannon and its hinterlands, and maybe learn some stories around what the Shannon has, or its heritage, its history, and its culture. An interpretation plan would be aligned to that integrated strategy. We'd look at a Shannon visitor experience and interpretation toolkit. Most importantly, an environmental code of conduct for the entire length, and then that there would be additional marketing resources to support all of those objectives within the master plan. The second signature initiative then is around, and again, Clara, if we could move on, it's around enhancing the on-water visitor experience. This is about rejuvenating the cruising experience, looking at day boating, river boats, and passenger cruising, enhancing the marinas and berthing, looking at water-based activities and adventures, reimagining our angling proposition, which is really strong for coarse angling in particular, looking at the expansion and enhancement of our Blue Way network. And our Blue Way network is really about slow travel and not intrusive kind of network of on-water and off-water trails. It's also about the establishment of tranquility zones, areas where a boater or a member of the public or a tourist could be at one with nature and could just sit and appreciate what's around them. And finally, then we're looking at the development of small-scale on-water accommodation. Signature Initiative 3 then, Clara, is around enhancing the waterside visitor experience. And it's about how our harbour-side amenities and infrastructure is developed. It's about nature viewing in the forests around the Shannon. It's about the rejuvenation of lesser used waterways, and indeed enhancing the usage of the historic buildings that are dotted right along the Shannon and Shannon Nairn waterways. The picture there is an Omer lock house built in the 1700s that's lying abandoned, and there are many of those along the Shannon. So it's how we would enhance that usage and maybe bring them back to life in a very sensitive way. Signature Initiative 4, Clara, then is around the towns and villages. And this is probably the most crucial piece within the tourism master plan. Because as you can see on that map, there's a myriad of towns and villages dotted from County Cavan all the way down to Limerick, that uniquely in Ireland face the waterways. In lots of places in Ireland previously, our towns and villages turned their backs on the waterways, and rather than front facing and making sure that the towns and villages were part of the landscape, they turned their back on that unique landscape. So we are working with our partners in the local authorities and in Fáilte on lower level detailed plans for many of the towns and villages to see how we can bring about the rejuvenation of some of those towns, ensuring that the communities that live in them are of the waterway, on the waterway, and benefit from the waterways, and that the visitors then also get that sense of being in a Shannon town or village. Signature Initiative 5 then, Clara, is around protecting and enhancing the Shannon environment. So we're very conscious and we have been very aware all through our existence as a navigation authority of how we need to adopt an ecotourism approach to future development on the Shannon. We need to ensure that we can support Bord na Móna, who are exiting out of peat production in many of the bogs around the Shannon spine, how we can support them in their rewilding plan and to develop access to that unique heritage that is in that area of Ireland, how we can rewild those bogs, bring nature back to life and make it into a community and visitor attraction. We're also looking at working with our colleagues in the National Parks and Wildlife Service and looking at seeking UNESCO biosphere designation for Lough Ree, that's the middle lake on the Shannon system and its environs. And also a project that we're working on very closely with our partners in Fáilte is around biosecurity measures for the Shannon and how we can arrest the spread of invasive species. Signature Initiative 6 then, Clara.
Sorry, Éanna, just 2 minutes left.
Great, I'm almost there, and thanks for the reminder, Caroline. Signature Initiative 6 is about improving connectivity. And again, this is about how we encourage sustainable and slow travel, improve our local link services, encourage on-water slow travel, and develop a Shannon Discovery bus route. Again, this is looking at how we would look at the cruise hire sector and the boat fleets and encourage them to go down the green route and become more sustainable in their offering also. Signature Initiative 7 then, the final one, Clara, is around building enterprise and community networks, something that Fáilte Ireland has led on in creating the tourism networks in the 3 discovery zones I mentioned earlier, but equally as important is creating and building the Shannon enterprise network around the industry and building a community network around the villages, towns and communities that live along the Shannon. So in conclusion, Clara, we've implementation structures set up. We want to hit the ground running. And if we move to the very last slide, Clara, the second last slide, we have some early progress and early wins. So we've started work already on the Shannon Discovery Points project. We're hopefully will be first out of the traps with accreditation for the Lough Derg Blueway 210 kilometres of canoe trails and land-based trails. We're in planning for the tranquility moorings at various locations. Thanks to Fáilte and the local authorities and ourselves, we're undertaking some significant harbour and jetty improvements. We're looking to develop the Shannon Greenway and are in feasibility and route selection stage for a significant section of it. Our biosecurity plan around the spread of invasives is in train. And just this morning, we launched the Lough Derg Visitor Experience Development Plan, which is a lower level plan again than the Shannon Master Plan, but which will bring a lot of the Master Plan to life. So Accorda, that's, I think, Clara, is if we go to the last slide, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to engaging in the Q&A.